there, I'm Jordan. I am a student leader with the Jaywalker crew here. I get to hang out with your high school and middle school babies. We do have a few announcements for you this morning. If it's your first time here, please stop by the Connection Center. We have a gift for you. We'd love to meet you and send you home with some goodies today. Also, Easter is coming up. We have 3 services here. We have a 7:30, a 9, a 10:30. So make sure you pick your service, and once you have that picked, invite your family and invite your friends and their family and their friends so we can enjoy Easter all together. Thank you for choosing to spend your morning here with us, and I hope you enjoyed the service.
songs and you got that glass God, it's insane. Like me trying it, I that much more, you know. You guys, I think, or he's with.
Good morning, Golden Corner Church. I am so glad to see you guys here with us this morning. I don't know about you, but I look forward to Sunday mornings. I love standing in here and worshiping with you guys. I love hanging out with your kids in the back, which is what I'm about to do in just a minute. I love eating donuts, and so that's always a plus. But I do. I love Sunday mornings, and we have an exciting weekend, next weekend coming up. On Friday night, we are going to be having our egg drop. If you have kids and you would like the egg drop to come to your house next Friday, today is the last day to sign up. We are going to be cutting off sign-ups. So if you would like to be a part of that, sign up today. And then, of course, next Sunday is Easter, and we are going to be having 3 services at 7:30, 9, and 10:30. If you plan on watching us online, we will be at 9 a.m. as usual. So I am excited to be here. I hope you guys are too. Stand up and worship with us this morning.
Y'all go ahead and look at the person beside you, shake their hand, tell them they look good this morning. We can't forget that part. That's the best part about Sundays.
God, I'm on my knees again. God, I'm begging, please again. I need you. I need you. Walking down these desert roads, water for my thirsty soul. I need you. I need you. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. Dead man walking, slave to sin. I want to know about being born again. I need you. Oh God, I need you. So take me to the riverside. Take me under, baptize. I need you. Oh God, I need you. Your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of a symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. I don't want to abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. sweet honey on my lips, like the sound of the symphony to my ears, like holy water on my skin. Yeah, it's like holy water on my skin. Oh, it's like holy water.
Y'all sing this with me. I may be weak, your spirit strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. I may be weak, your spirit strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. I may be weak, your spirit strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. I need you to soften my heart, to break me apart. I need you to open my eyes, see that you're shaping my life. And all I am, I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I need you to soften my heart and break me apart. I need you to pierce through the dark and cleanse every part of me. And all I am, I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I may be weak, your spirit strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. may fail. My God, you never, sing that again. I may be weak, your spirit strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. We're going to do an old one right here, and I want to say this about this song. This is a song that when I was a kid, we started singing, in contemporary churches and worship music, and it's one that I always go back to, especially in what I do here and for the worship team, because so many times we can make it about everything else except for the one thing it needs to be about, and that's God. And we can come in here and we can think about, which I won't set this up by saying there's nothing wrong with these things, but we can come in here because we're wanting to see somebody. Or maybe, Michelle just said it, maybe, man, them donuts and coffee are good out front. It's all this other stuff a lot of times. And this song just reminds me that when we're here and we're together, it's about worshiping God. It's about God. And this song says, I'm coming back to the heart of worship where it's all about you. And I hope that's your prayer this morning. I hope you sing this out with me. When the music fades and all is stripped away, and I'll simply come, longing just to bring something that's of worth, that'll bless your heart. I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within than the way things appear. You're looking into my heart. Come on, church. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. King of endless worth, no one could express how much you deserve. Though I'm weak and poor, and all I have is yours, every single breath, I'll bring you more than a song, for a song in itself is not what you have required. You search much deeper within. Through the way things appear, you're looking into my heart. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the things I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. And I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you. Come on, church, sing it. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I've made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. Amen. Y'all pray with me. God, thank you. God, thank you for that reminder as we sing that song. So many times we can make it about so many other things. We can make it about us, other people, the things we want, our desires. And God, I said it just a minute ago, there's nothing wrong with coming in and wanting to see people and shake hands and hug one another and love on one another. That's community, God, and you called us to that. But God, at the end of the day, it's all about you. We're here to worship you. We're here to draw close to you, to learn more about you. God, I pray we don't lose sight of that. God, so many times I feel like we get in struggles and we're like, man, just what's going on? And so many times it's because we're not making it about you. It's that easy. It's that easy. Center our lives around you. We're here to worship you, God, and I thank you for my church, God. I thank you for the willingness to come in and just sing, to lift their hands, to praise you, God. What power there is in corporate worship together, singing your praise, God. This morning, I pray you speak through Ronnie in a mighty way, God. You used him last week. What he brought was so good, God. And I know he's about to follow it up. And God, I pray we just have ears to listen. We draw close to you. We learn more about you. It's all about you, and we love you. It's in your name. And everybody says, amen. Thank you. You may be seated.
In the sermon today, I'm speaking to someone who follows God. You recognize and you respect His authority. And you trust His judgment. I mean, after all, He knows everything. And He always has your best interest in mind. So it's not like you to act impulsively. You typically include God in all your decisions. You pray, you consult the Bible, you seek godly counsel, and whatever He leads you to do, you do it. And that's always worked out well for you until now. You've come to a place where following God has led you into a strange season of life. If I ask, where are you on your spiritual journey, you may very well answer, I do not know. I don't know where in the world I am. I may know where you are. My objective is to help you, by the end of this sermon, understand exactly where you are and what you need to do. I want you to look for 4 landmarks in your life right now. Landmark number 1. Do you feel forgotten by God? Is it kind of like you and God were on the phone one day and He's talking, He's giving you leadership, He's giving you encouragement, and He said, hang on a minute, I need to put you on hold. And you got the on hold music, that kind of soft jazz, a little pop, you're on hold. And guess what? He never came back. And for a while, He's been silent in your life. Do you ever feel forgotten by God? He's busy with everybody else's life. He's doing things for everybody else. But for me, it's like everything's on hold. Second landmark. Do you feel frustrated / exhausted? Because this strange season you're in is uncomfortable and therefore undesirable. And so you have spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get out of this season of your life. You've analyzed your situation. You've drawn up plan after plan. Maybe you've implemented a few plans and either the plan failed altogether or before you actually executed the plan, you realize it's flawed, it's never going to work. And so you're frustrated that you can't get out of this season, but you've exhausted yourself in trying to figure out how to get out of it. Third landmark. Do you feel lost? I mean, was there a time when your life made sense? The things God was doing in your life just made perfect sense, but not so much now. If all the events of your life were spread out on the table as a puzzle, and that puzzle, you got all these pieces over here, would this particular season of your life be this odd, weird-shaped piece of the puzzle, and you look at it and go, how does that fit? God, how does this fit into your plan for me? Because to me, it makes no sense. Maybe you find yourself asking Him questions like, what? Why? When? How? I wrote in my journal one time, here's how I would describe my life at the moment. I feel like I just woke up and I'm lying in the bottom of a boat. I raised up to discover that I'm on a large body of water. And there's no land in sight in any direction. So I not only don't know which way to go, I don't even know where I am. I feel so lost. Can you relate? Is that a landmark you see? Fourth landmark. Do you feel disappointed in God? Now, you probably wouldn't say that out loud to somebody. You probably don't even like to entertain the thought if it comes into your mind. But if you were completely honest, this is what you're thinking. You know, if God indeed has infinite resources and He really loves me, is this the best He could do? Is this it? You expected more. You asked for more. You felt you needed more. You needed something different. And He just didn't do what you asked. He didn't do what you expected. Matter of fact, you kind of look at the situation and go, He didn't do anything. There are things He could have prevented. He didn't prevent. There are things problems He could solve. He won't solve. You feel disappointed. Listen, if you recognize any of those landmarks in your life, I think I know where you're at. You're in the meantime. You go, what? The meantime. The meantime is the way I describe the season of life or the period of time in between God making you a promise and God keeping the promise. It is that space of time in between God calling you to something and God opening up the door and giving you the opportunity to do it. It is the space of time in between you praying and God answering. Sooner or later, in the process of following God, God will require that you wait on Him. God has a time schedule, and you do too. And your time schedule is undoubtedly completely different from His. You are in a bigger hurry than He is. Therefore, if you're going to stay in step with Him and really follow Him, there are times in life where all you can do is wait on Him. He makes you a promise, and He says, now here's what I want you to do next. Just wait. He calls you to something. Here's your next step. Wait. You pray, and He assures you, got that, going to take care of that, but here's what you're going to do next. Wait. The period of time we spend waiting on God is the period of time I like to call the meantime, and it may very well be that that's exactly where you are today. God's making you wait. Let me give you some biblical examples, okay? So you know I'm just not up here talking. Let me give you three. First one's found in the Old Testament book of Genesis, chapter 12 through 21. It involves a couple named Abraham and Sarah. When Abraham was 75 years old, his wife Sarah was 65 years old. They didn't have any children because Sarah couldn't bear children. So God showed it one day, and He made them a promise. He promised them descendants, plural. He said they'll be countless. They'll number as the stars in the sky or the grains of sand on the seashore. You're going to have children, Sarah. Abraham, you're going to be a dad. So 10 years later, you know how many children they had? Somebody make a wild guess. Huh? 0. 10 years. God promised them this. He actually promised it on multiple occasions. 10 years in, no kids. Okay, 20 years. Nothing. Nothing. Not one kid did they have. 20 years in. 24 years in. 0. Nothing. In between year 24 and 25, Sarah conceived. And when Abraham was 100 years old, he broke out the cigar. Sarah, at the young age of 90, had their first child, a son named Isaac. Can you imagine that? So God made a promise when Abraham was 75, fulfilled the promise when he was 100. For 25 years, God made them wait. You know what I call that 25 years? The meantime. Second illustration is also found in the book of Genesis. It's about the life of a young man named Joseph. His story is in Genesis chapter 37 and then chapter 39 through 50. At the age of 17, God called Joseph to do something. He called him to rule a nation. He let him know, you're going to be big stuff one day. You're going to have a throne. You're going to rule. The extent of your rule will be so great. Even your family will come and bow down to you. And so at 17, he showed him that. Okay, like 30 days later, what do you think this would-be prince was doing? He was a slave down in a foreign country, Egypt. How did he get there? His 10 older brothers sold him to slave traders who took him to Egypt and sold him to a man named Potiphar, who, by the way, happened to be the captain of Pharaoh's guard. But whoa, 5 years later, what do you think he was doing? He's still a slave, man. There's no throne in sight. 10 years. He's still a slave. God called him to be a ruler. He's serving as a slave. But boy, at the 10-year mark, there was a radical change. You know what happened after 10 years? His master's wife framed him for a crime he didn't commit, and he was thrown into prison. There you go. That makes sense, don't it? So the next 3 years, he lives in a dungeon beneath Egypt. But after 13 years of this, the old Pharaoh of Egypt had some wacky dreams, and nobody could interpret them. And somebody said, hey, I met a guy one time in the prison system. His name was Joseph, and I think he can interpret your dreams. They brought him before Pharaoh. You know, Joseph interpreted the dreams. God gave Joseph favor in Pharaoh's eyes. Pharaoh said, you know what I think you need to be doing? I got a throne right here. And my country's the most powerful and prosperous in the world. And I got a throne here that's empty. I think you need to occupy it. God called him to lead. 13 years later, God opened the door for him to do it. You know what you call that 13-year period of time? Meantime. Third illustration is in the New Testament book of John, chapter 11. There was two sisters, Martha and Mary, and their brother Lazarus. They lived in the village of Bethany. And they were good friends with Jesus, and they weren't just friends. They really believed he was the Messiah, that he was God in human body. They had the ability to do anything. So Lazarus got sick. And they recognized there is no hope for Lazarus outside of a miracle. So they sent word to Jesus, your friend Lazarus is very sick. Now, it wasn't just for your information. You need to know he's sick. They were making a request. They were asking him to come and to use his supernatural powers to heal their brother. They fully believed that he was capable, and they fully believed that he would. So when Jesus got the message, even though Trent, he recognized the urgency. This is what the Bible said he did. He didn't do anything. He hung out where he was at for 2 full days, Lindley. 2 days. He just hung out. Now, he's got an urgent situation down here, and his friends have made a request. So after 2 days, Jesus starts for Bethany. I don't know. He must have gone at a snail's pace, Chris. Because by the time he came walking into Bethany, Lazarus had not only died, they'd had his funeral, and he had been in the tomb for 4 days. Jesus asked Martha and Mary to take me graveside. Jesus goes, graveside? You're not going to believe what he did. Yeah, you would. You've read the book. He raised him from the dead. These girls wanted him healed so that they wouldn't lose him. Jesus steps in and raises him from the dead so that they wouldn't lose him. So they made a request. I don't know how long it took. Maybe a week. Jesus showed up, answered their request. You know what you call that week, that span of time? That's the meantime. And I think some of you are in the meantime. You're waiting. And what I'm hoping is you've got a question. Ronnie, What do you do in the meantime? What do I do while I'm waiting? Can I give you 3 don'ts? Number 1, don't try to make something happen. Now, we humans are notoriously impatient. Can I get an amen right there? Huh? Some of us are more impatient than others. So here's what this is what can happen. It's so tempting that when we're waiting on God to go, I'm sick of waiting, I'm going to take the situation in my own hands, and what God is not doing, if He won't make it happen, I'll make it happen. I'm going to advise you not to do that. You say, why not? You know, man, I get things done. I'm a doer. I understand. Now, at the 10-year mark, Sarah was thinking like we think. And this is what she said to Abraham. It's never going to happen. God's not going to make it happen. So I'm about to make it happen. She brought one of her slave girls to Abraham. Her name was Hagar. And said, start having sex with her. Excuse me? Sarah's like, yeah, start having sex with Hagar. And perhaps she'll conceive and give birth to a son, and he can be the son that God promised us but never delivered. Abraham kind of like, well, if you want me to, okay, I'll do that. Hagar conceived. And from the moment she conceived, problems broke out in the household. Problems that were never solved. Problems that exist to this day. Not just friction and conflict in the household, but conflict between nations. Here's what I'm saying. When you and I decide to take matters in our hand, we're going to make something. One of 2 things is about to happen. We're either going to settle for far less than God had in mind, or we're going to create problems on a massive scale. Don't do that. Number 2, don't try to figure God out. Do you think when Joseph was shackled to the other would-be slaves and he's being led to Egypt, Phil, do you think he went, I know what's going on. I know what's happening. This throne God promised, it's down in Egypt. That's exactly why. Do you think he thought that? No. You know, when he's purchased by Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard, do you think for a minute, Tony, he thought to himself, I know why he's buying me, because he's going to be my connection to Pharaoh, because Pharaoh's going to be my connection to the throne. Do you think he thought of that? No. When he is thrown into Pharaoh's dungeon, do you think, this light bulb went over his head and he went, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to meet one of Pharaoh's employees who's going to eventually bring me before Pharaoh, and that's how I'm going to... No. Do you think that he thought to himself, you know what I believe is going to happen? I believe the Pharaoh of Egypt is going to have some nightmares, and I'm going to be called in to interpret those dreams, and God's going to give me favor and eyes, and he's going to put me on the throne. Do you think he could have done that? Only in hindsight did he understand. Listen to me. I wish I could get back every minute of time I have spent trying to figure God out. My wife's not here. She would be standing up, applauding right now. She would be amening. There's no time. How many times while we were in the meantime, I'd go to her and I would say, I know what God's doing. And it wouldn't be long and I'd go, no, I didn't. I know what's next. And then, no, I didn't know. I know when. No, I didn't. I wish I could get back. See, here's the thing about trying to figure God out. The prophet Isaiah said in Isaiah chapter 55, it can't be done. That his thoughts and his ways are so much higher than ours, we can't possibly understand all that he's up to. You're wasting your time if you're trying to. Don't do that. Third thing, don't develop a bad attitude toward God. It's easy to do when you're in the meantime. You feel forgotten, you feel frustrated, you feel lost, you feel disappointed. So Jesus finally comes into Bethany. Somebody says to Martha and Mary, Jesus is out here. Now, Mary loved Jesus probably more than anybody you read about in the Bible. You know what she did when she heard that Jesus was there? She stayed where she was at. She didn't go running to greet him. You know why? Angie, she had a bad attitude toward him. Now, Martha, on the other hand, went. You know why Martha went? She was a type A personality, very opinionated, very outspoken. She ran up to Jesus and said, good to see you. You know what she said? If you had come when we called, if you had done what we asked, if you had just simply done what you could, all of this could have been avoided. Hey, Hodge translation, she said, man, this is your fault. Jesus said, I want to see Mary. So she goes and gets Mary. Mary comes out. Let me tell you, she didn't go, man, you're the one, I love you, I believe. You know what she said? If you had come when we called, done what we asked, simply done what you could, all of this could have been avoided. You know what Mary said to him? This is your fault. They developed a bad attitude toward Jesus in the meantime. And it's easy for you and I to do the same. I'm going to encourage you not to, because I'm going to tell you why. The meantime is an uncomfortable, undesirable place to be. You want to make a bad situation worse? Develop a rotten attitude toward God, and that'll make it worse. Don't do those things. What do we do, Ronnie? Number one, be attentive. Why? God is teaching. You know what the meantime is? It's a classroom. And when God says, here's what's next for you, you're going to spend a season of your life in the meantime. You know what he's saying? I've put you in a class because I need to teach you something. You know what he's wanting to teach you? He's wanting to teach you something about himself. Something that builds, stretches, and increases your faith in him. And you got to pay attention. Let me give you an example. Abraham and Sarah. You know what God was trying to teach them about himself? He was trying to teach them that nothing's too hard for me. You with me? He was trying to teach them nothing's too hard for me. As a matter of fact, 24 years in, the angel of the Lord came. He's sitting there having a meeting with Abraham. He said, about this time next year, Sarah's going to conceive and give birth to a son. Sarah overheard it, and she laughed to herself. It's ridiculous. The angel of the Lord looked at Abraham and said, why is she laughing? And then he asked Abraham a question. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Here's what amazes me. I think at the age of 75 and 65, even though Sarah was barren, they had enough faith to believe that if God wanted to give them a child, he could. But at 99 and 89, that faith was gone. You know one of the reasons God allowed it to linger on so long? He was wanting to make a point to them. Nothing's too hard for me. It's as easy for me to give you a child at 190 as it would have been at 30 and 20. No difference. I think he was trying to teach Martha and Mary a similar lesson, and that is this. I have the ability to do a whole lot more than you think I do. You were confident I could heal the sick. I tried to show you something. I can do more than that. I can raise the dead. With Joseph, I believe that God was trying to teach him that I'm sovereign. Or in other words, I'm in absolute control at all times. No matter what the circumstance, I want you to understand, Joseph, I'm in control. Your 10 older brothers, they didn't control your destiny. I did. Potiphar never controlled your destiny. I did. Potiphar's wife never controlled your destiny. The butler who forgot you in the prison, he didn't control your destiny. Nobody ever controlled your destiny but me. And there's nobody who can prevent me from fulfilling my plan for your life. Nobody. What I want to do with you, what I want to do through you, what I want to do for you, I will do in spite of anything anybody ever does because I'm sovereign. People may move the pieces, the chess pieces on the board, but God controls the game. I believe that he was teaching all of them, Abraham, Sarah, Joseph, Martha, Mary. I'm faithful. I'll make you a promise. I keep it. It's that simple. I call you to something, I'll open the door. I tell you I'll answer a prayer, I'll answer the prayer. And all these things were designed to build their faith. And I'm telling you, God's trying to teach you something like that in this whole process. So I'm encouraging you to pay attention. Ask him, what are you trying to show me about yourself? Then put your nose in that book, the Bible, and read it and read it and read it. And you ask him, if there's something you want to show me about you, show me. Second thing I'm encouraging you to do, be faithful. Why? God is working. You go, wait a minute, Ronnie. Wait just a minute. I have surveyed the landscape of my life and I see no evidence at all that God is working for me. If that's the case, and you can't see that God is working for you, it's the absolute evidence that God is working in you. The meantime is not just a place where God builds our faith, it's a place where God builds us. That's where we're transformed. That's where we grow. Think about Joseph. You know, Joseph was called and destined to rule. He needed a little character development, Scott, before he could do that. Now, he was a young man of integrity, but I believe I could take the Bible and prove that he was lacking an essential virtue that every leader has to have, and I think it was humility. But after 13 years in the meantime, he stood before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said, "They tell me you can interpret dreams." Do you know how he responded to that? I can't. I can't do it. But God can. But then how do you explain the fact that as soon as Joseph took this throne in Egypt, he was a masterful leader and manager? I mean, his skill set shined through. It was unbelievable, the job that he did. How did a slave/convict ever acquire those skills and hone those skills? He did it in the meantime. Now, he started off as a slave in Potiphar's house. So that means he had to empty the bedpans. He had to clean out the stalls. And you know how he approached it? I'll tell you how he approached it. He gave it his absolute best effort. He was responsible. Everything he did on time. Everything he did with excellence. And so you know what Potiphar would do? He kept promoting it until one day, Joseph is managing his entire estate. You know what he's doing? He's got to prepare the budget, manage the budget. He's got to problem solve, lead a team. He's got to do all this stuff. After 10 years, he goes into the prison. You know what the warden immediately did? He put him in charge of the prison. Everywhere he went, he was leading, he was managing, he was making decisions. All the skills that he needed to sit on that throne and excel at what God called him to do were developed in the meantime. And here's what I'm saying to you, is that God, in the meantime, is trying to build you, shape you, transform you. And the way he will do it is by you being faithful to whatever he gives you to do each day. But this is what God called me to do. I had this friend one time, he told me, he said, "Man, God's called me to be a Christian musician." And he said, I said, you make money at it? He went, "No." Okay. "I want to get married." "All right. How you going to support your wife?" "I don't know." And I said, "You ever thought about getting a job?" He's like, "Well, I'm called to be a musician." "What you going to do in the meantime? Huh? Until God opens that door, what you going to do?" You know what you do? You go get a job. You apply yourself. Whatever it is that he gives you to do, you do it. And I tell you, as you are faithful to whatever God gives you to do, those responsibilities, God is preparing you for what's coming next. When I was called to the ministry, I had several friends that were called at the same time. They all struck out, went to Bible college, and then right on to seminary. Well, I plan to do the same thing. And over and over and over again, Rick, the door just closed and closed and closed and closed. And you know what God did with me? He left me at the factory I was working at, the Singer Company in Pickens. He left me there. And I was so confused. Why would you call me to the ministry and leave me here? I spend my days making thermoplastic that is turned into power tool housings. How does that work? You know what I did? Every day, I worked my tail off. Never missed a day. I did everything the best I could. They tapped me on the shoulder one day and said, "We've picked a handful of men and women that show some leadership inclination. We'd like to send you to a class. Teach you." Well, I went through it. Next thing I knew, they put me in a supervisor's position. Guess what I had to do? I had to prepare a budget, manage a budget. I had to hire people, interview them. I had to do problem solving, troubleshooting, conflict resolution, training. I had to do all this. And you know what? Only after I was in the ministry did I realize God used this to teach me how to lead. You know, while my buddies were paying exorbitant tuition to be trained, Singer was paying me as they trained me. Be faithful to whatever it is that God is asking you to do right now. Third thing is this. Listen, I'm done. Be patient, because God isn't through. This is not the way your story ends. Did Abraham and Sarah end up childless? No. Did Joseph end up dying in a prison? No. Martha and Mary spend the rest of their lives without their brother? No. Their story didn't end with them in the meantime, and yours doesn't either. Matter of fact, I know how your story ends. You go, that's ridiculous. How could you know how my story ends? I know how it ends. The promise He made you, He's going to keep. The thing He called you to do, He's going to open the door and give you the opportunity to do it. The prayer He assured you He's going to answer, He's going to answer it. That's how your story ends. You think Abraham and Sarah were happy? In the end, you think they were happy? Come on, come to me, come back to me. I don't know where you're at. You think they were happy? Deliriously happy. You think old Joseph was happy? You think Martha and Mary were happy? They were all very pleased with the way their story ended. Let me tell you something. I got to believe this, that God's writing an ending to your story. And you're going to be very happy with it. So if you find yourself in the meantime, don't try to make something happen. Don't try to figure God out. And for sure, don't develop a bad attitude. Would you be attentive because God is teaching? Would you be faithful because God is working in you? Would you be patient because God isn't through? God doesn't make any of us wait forever. Let me pray with you. Father, my prayer has been this. I know I'm talking not just one, two, or three. I'm talking to a lot of people who are in the meantime. I pray that they'll walk out of here encouraged, understanding it's a normal part of the process of following you. And I pray this, God, that now they now know how to navigate this, that they know what to do in the meantime. And I pray they will do it. I ask this for their sake. In Christ's name, amen. You're dismissed. Thank you so much.